About a month ago, when Oxygen OS 15 launched, I made a video comparing the new AI photo editing tools on the OnePlus Open to very similar tools on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and there was one particular feature, AI Detail Boost, that was very underwhelming to me. This feature, honestly, it was very difficult to see what it was actually doing. Hitting the compare button, going back and forth, old photo, new photo, they look basically identical. But I did have a few people actually mention that it was working fairly well for them. And I was wondering, what am I doing wrong with this feature? And that's when I made a discovery. Rather than pointing this thing at images that were already pretty good, I decided to point it at this meme. It was for a joke I was going to make, and I thought this picture is terrible quality. I wonder what this AI detail boost could do for it. I ran it through it, and it went from this to this, which is clearly like a enhanced quote-unquote photo. You can tell that there's some like artifacting going on, but I was actually pretty impressed with how this turned out. You can even see back here on the back in this tree, like it resolved some like gaps in the tree that are very, very hard to resolve otherwise. So it's definitely doing its best here with this very blurry image. And that inspired me to do today's video. I went into my Google Photos account and I scrolled all the way back to an era where, one, our phone's cameras just weren't that good, and two, a lot of the photos I had been posted to some place like Instagram and then re-downloaded later to be preserved, so the quality is absolutely dreadful, and we're going to try to save some of these old features with this AI detail boost. As you can see here, this is a very, very low quality image, and it is much more in the vein of that meme that it actually did a pretty good job of upscaling. And by the way, upscaling is actually an important part of this. This was 0.9 megapixels, 1165 by 815. Now it is 11.7 megapixels, over 4000 by 2857. It made this a much physically larger image, and that is definitely something that I want to see it do with these images, because these, the ones I've picked for today, are all quite small. So let's go ahead and click on the AI Detail Boost button, and let's see what this thing is actually able to do. You're going to see this in real time. I've not done this prior. I don't know how these are going to turn out, but I will tell you, before I've zoomed in, that does look like that has made a pretty significant difference, but we do need to zoom in to look. You can tell that there's a little bit of this almost like watercolor painting effect going on, but that's got to be seen as a pretty darn big improvement. I don't think that there's any way around that. That has to be viewed as an improvement. And if you're zoomed all the way out, it actually looks pretty crisp and pretty nice. Look at the waterfall here. That is a really, really radical improvement. It's not magic, right? Like, it can't make this thing into this like perfect photo. But that is a really big, look at that. Look at the difference before and after. It's not perfect, but that is pretty darn impressive. So here's another one. My wife Jessie and I were at our first ever WWE event, a house show. You can see we were actually both wearing CM Punk shirts. This is from, like, I want to say maybe 2014. I think this is a great candidate to be run through the detail boost, and you'll see maybe how it's going to work on a face. This isn't quite as blurry of a photo as the last one, so let's see how this is able to do. And okay, so we do have some weirdness going on here. The shadow here underneath her neck got a little bit strange. It almost looks like she's got some chest hair creeping up out of the shirt. But I will say that her face looks really pretty good. It's like kind of smooth things out a little bit. I think that that looks really good. But again, the shadows have gotten really, really strange. So this is a hit or miss affair. I think you would need to do some touching up on that image. But overall, got rid of a lot of the grain. Obviously, it's going to be higher resolution. Mixed bag on this one. We'll take a break from selfies to look at this absolutely adorable photo of my boy Rutherford. This was many years ago. He is 12 years old now, and he was just a tiny little thing for this photo. and we're going to try to clean this up. This is a great example of an Instagram photo. That's where this was posted, and then it was downloaded at some point after that. So it is very small, and it looks exactly like an Instagram photo from the early 2010s. And yeah, I think that that has done pretty well. Let's look at his little snout. You can actually kind of almost make out individual hairs now that you really couldn't before. It's kind of interesting how it's kind of coming up with this stuff. There's some lines here on the top of his nose that almost look like hairs, and those definitely wouldn't have been hairs. So I'm almost wondering, like, is it recognizing that this is a dog? And it's like, oh, if it's a dog, then there should be hairs. So let's like add some hairs there where you really don't have that information at all before. This is really interesting. But I think unequivocally, this is not as dramatic of an improvement until you start to punch in. And then you're like, yeah, that is a massive, massive improvement. We'll do one more selfie. This is actually the first photo in existence of myself and my wife. This was from a very long time ago. And as you can see, it is in very low quality. This was a photo that my mom actually took, and then she texted it to me. So this is well over 10 years ago now. Let's see if we can help this picture out at all with the detail boost. And once again, we are so close to being absolutely amazing, but there are some strange things happening. But man, there's a lot of good here, but there's also some stuff that I can already see that's a little bit weird. We'll zoom in on my face first. So the facial hair does look a little bit strange, but I will admit to you that at this moment, I was in the process of, sort of as a joke, growing mutton chops. They had not come in yet, but they were on the way, so that's what's going on there. Don't ask why. It is what it is. I think I look relatively okay. There's some darkness underneath my eyes here that make me look a little bit sickly, like something might be wrong with me. My eye color is a little strange as well. Come over here to Jessie. It almost looks like it started to give her a slight mustache, which is unfortunate. Eye color also looking kind of strange. I wonder how easy it would be to sort of touch these things up after the fact. But, I mean, again, let's just go back to my face really quickly. That's a lot. We're asking a lot of this thing, and I think that it did quite a bit. Just for more information, I do want to quickly look at my Pixel 9 Pro Fold, where I have run the same photo through Zoom Enhance, and I think that it has also done a pretty good job. I don't feel like it's pushing things to the extreme quite as far as this sort of detail enhancer for OnePlus is, but in some ways I think that this looks like a more natural photo. Let's come over here to her as well. I think that this is really, really impressive too. Which one you like is probably going to be more down to your personal preference than anything else. So one last photo here, absolute blast from the past. This is from 2009. This is actually just before I moved out. I was very proud of this setup. We have this Sony receiver, my PlayStation 3. Look at that beautiful Sanyo TV, probably a 20-inch, 22-inch TV, something like that. My PlayStation 3 games. There's my PlayStation Go over there. This was actually taken, if I'm not mistaken. Will it show me the details here? Yes, on a Palm Pre. That should tell you how old this photo is. December 18th of 2009. Let's see what it can do on this one. We are once again asking for a lot, and once again, shadows have kind of gotten a little bit weird. The places where it's grainy, that's kind of interesting. Up here in the corner, it's like there's like a circular area where the graininess just could not seem to be dealt with. But let's zoom in on the receiver. You can make out that that says PS3, and you can make that out before as well. It looks like primarily what it's doing is it's dealing with the noise and the grain, and then of course it's making the image much larger as well. Now, part of that is you might actually be losing a little bit of detail here with that sort of noise suppression going on. It's very difficult to make out the names of these games before or after, but I would say that overall, this does end up being, I think, the more visually pleasing image after it's been fixed. And we'll do the same for this image as well. Zoom Enhance on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold to see how this compares. And I think it's going to look really similar. In fact, that little area in the corner that's kind of like a circular looking area where the grain is stuck around is there as well. So that's very, very similar. But again, just like with OnePlus, it is basically getting rid of a lot of that grain and noise. So I think that the biggest takeaway for this entire thing for me is that when I first looked at this feature on the OnePlus device, I basically just dismissed it as barely doing anything. But when I throw it at sort of worse photos that need more work, the reality is it's right there with what Google is doing. So sometimes you got to come back and check these things again to give them a proper fair shake. And that's what I feel like I've done here. And I am impressed. Because let me know in the comments down below what you think. Which of these features do you think in these last couple of images we're doing better? Are you using these features? Again, sound off in those comments down below. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.